Welcome back to the studio. Next to me is Andrew Markworth. Andrew, you marched with the Cavaliers
I did.
on snare, but more recently you've designed for the front ensemble in Crown, and last year you wrote the musical book for Crossman.
That's correct.
So there's a lot of experience sitting next to me here, and I just want to talk to you, Andrew, a little bit about Europeans coming over to the United States. You've had them in your core, you've experienced it. You've been over here in Holland helping out the company with their creative process. And basically, the theme, part of the theme of today is the future of drum corps. So I want to talk to you with you about how people from Europe coming over to the United States is pushing the activity right here. First of all, from your own experience in the course that you've been in, have you had many Europeans that you have taught, or just a couple?
I would say each year there's usually a couple. It depends on the group, and it depends on the year, and depends on the section. But there's been quite a handful in some groups, and sometimes only one or two.
Yeah. Have you seen people that came over that now are in a position here where they're really pushing the course in the European activity?
Absolutely, and I think especially from a technical standpoint, there's just when you go over and say you march DCI, you're learning technique for 3-4 months in a row, and getting that daily routine, and that information then becomes part of a routine that can be adapted over here, and that information gets spread around, and you just see the technical aspect of things from that way, from the marching members coming back over, really spreading that information and improving the quality of the group.
Okay. You've been with the company for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel that from a artistic standpoint it has influenced the company, just getting that information from the United States? You're bringing information, but the kids themselves are getting information there also.
Absolutely. I think it is a very different activity over here, and in some ways I like it more because you can, I think there are less boundaries, and there are things that you can do with the design over here that are just really creative and fun and all that. But I think just having the courage to explore those things, you learn that from just trial and error. And so over in the States, you learn that through experience, and then you can translate that experience over here, and hopefully it becomes successful a lot sooner with those lessons learned.
Well, it's great to be able to get experienced people like you over here to really help us find those boundaries and to go through them. You just mentioned the boundaries here are maybe a little bit more open.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about that. That's an interesting subject to me.
It is interesting, and part of it I think is that the corps come from so many different places, and so they have very different styles, which I think is a great thing. And so the way that they choose to do things can be very different, but I think that's rewarded a little bit more over here. It's also nice that you don't have the same groups competing against each other every single day in a row with the same people seeing them time after time after time. So you have the ability, I think, to make adjustments to your show. You have the ability to come out very different the next time you come out and try different things and develop ideas over that amount of time.
Yeah. Okay. You've been with the company for how many years now?
This is my 6th, so every year they've existed.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. How did you get first involved with the company?
Originally, I first got involved with a group called the Senators that isn't around anymore.
Mm-hmm.
In 2007, I wrote for them 2007, 8, and 9, and really it was just some mutual friends that had gotten to know them from studying abroad over here, a couple of my friends, and they introduced us at WGI. And then they put the trust in me to write the show one year, and since then I've developed some good relationships. So the company is formed. There's some people from that group and some people from another that I had met over here, and when they were putting it together, they asked me to do it and start a new group, and it was really exciting, and it's been fun ever since.
Great, great. Those 6 years, what has changed in your eyes in the activity over here? What has progressed? What direction do you feel that we're going in the European activity?
Well, I think what's going on over here now is that I think people are okay having their own voice. I think in the past, the European activity was very interested in what they liked about maybe older drum corps shows from America, and trying to play that game the way they did it. And I think nowadays you see people trying to come up with something creative, something unique, and something people haven't seen before. And I think that makes it a lot more exciting, and it makes the activity its own. Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily trying to be something else. It's trying to be its own thing, and I think people I think the crowds are now responding to all the groups in a more positive way instead of maybe just their home team and kind of sitting on their hands for all the other groups, which I think is great.
In general, when we look at the U.S. and when we look at the European activity, and you look at kids like you have in the company, but also Kids Grove, U-Ball, Juliana, how easy do you think it would be for those kids to get into the drum course? Is there a level that is compatible, or do you think that only the most talented kids should try out?
I think anyone should try out. I think there's a level of talent and there's a level of experience in every single group. And speaking about the company, and I know this is true of other places too, but the age range is quite vast. But I think that we design the shows so that we can include people in them. And maybe if they're younger and they're less experienced, their role in the show is a little bit less, but then they get developed, and as the years go on, they get bigger roles. And I think the more development of the corps, the younger corps, that's definitely a huge thing too. So I wouldn't shy away from any opportunities. If you're interested in wanting to march in any drum corps in Europe, I think you should just try to get involved and try to get to know people and go for it.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Andrew, for coming to the studio and talking to us a little bit about your experience here, both here and over there in the U.S. There's always a great connection going that we want to keep alive, and I think that is also part of the future in drum corps. Thanks so much again, and you can stick around while I'll introduce the next video.
Okay, thank you.
So basically, Andrew said anyone can try it, and I just want to echo that because that is in part the future of drum corps. Kids that are of age, of course, because he was saying also the age range, you need to be under 21. But if you're under 21, then and you feel that this is something for you, go out there and try out to become a marching member in DCI, because really that is going to push the activity in Europe also. In the last couple of years, if you've seen how many people come back from the US and just take an enormous amount of experience with them, and with that, both artistically and in terms of training, push the activity here, that is great. One of those people is Rob Morrison, and Joe earlier on this month interviewed Rob Morrison. He marched for 3 years with the Blue Stars, and just shared some of his experiences with Joe, which I think is a great lead-in for maybe going further and looking into marching in DCI. Let's go to the video of Joe interviewing Rob Morrison.
Welcome to another of our interviews about the future of drum corps. I'm joined today by Rob Morrison, a 3-year veteran of marching with the Blue Stars at DCI. So, Rob, tell us a little bit about the experience you've had, particularly this year in 2015 with marching with the Blue Stars in the sideshow performance.
I enjoyed this year's show a lot. I think it gave us a lot of sort of creativity towards what we're actually doing because of like the nature of the show. I think, especially because of my age out, it seemed a lot more special than the other two.
As a 3-year veteran, I guess the obvious question to say is, what got you motivated? What was the first drive and inspiration you had to say, I want to take my drum corps career and march in DCI?
Well, I spoke about it with my friends before I went out for the first time, and I sort of joked about doing it, and then I actually looked a bit into it, and like watched videos, watched DVDs and all that, and it just looked amazing. I had to get out there and do it for myself.
And fantastic. So that first year, I guess you'd made your mind up. You made your mind up that it was the Blue Stars that you wanted to perform with. How did you make that first approach, and what was the audition process?
Well, actually, I auditioned for Blue Coats in 2013 and just missed out. On getting the spot. But then I had two good friends from the corps I marched back in England at the time. I'd marched Blue Stars the year before and a couple of years before that. And they told me how close everyone was there, how much of a family it was, and how much of an amazing experience they had there. So it seemed like the next step.
That just sounds like a really good story in terms of a backstory there. That just because people have got a particular corps that they want to march with, it's more important that they get the experience of marching over in the States if they really want to. as the years have gone on, have you found it easier and easier to get into America? I know as Europeans sometimes going away for a 3-month tour, if you're going out there for spring training in May, you're either use the ESTA scheme or you go for a full visa. What was your experience?
I use the ESTA every time, but I think in like 8 or 9 times I flew out, I only had a problem once. Like every time it was fine going through. Everyone at the desk was like, believe the story and everything. But then there was one time, I think it was for flying out for move-ins in 14, I think it was. And he must have just not believed me what I was doing. And I forgot to take like the spare contract as well with me, which is my mistake.
Right.
But when we got there, I got like interviewed for like 2 hours because either didn't believe what I was doing or they were skeptical of it or whatever. But yeah, that was scary. I nearly missed my flight because of it as well.
It's something that you can get over. You just be truthful with people, be honest, tell them what you're doing over there, and
just make sure you got your contract and phone numbers.
No,
as well.
yeah, true. There you go. If there's a word of advice, everyone, from Mr. Morrison here, a 3-year vet, make sure you bring a copy of your contract and phone numbers. So, during the regular season on tour, tell us a little bit about the food, the travel, the hours.
The food, we actually got fed amazing. I think I can't see any other car getting fed better than we had. It was just amazing. Like every day was just something different. Loads, as much as you could handle, as much as you want. It was great. And then the travel can get a bit much, but it's like 12,000, 13,000 miles on a bus. But that also becomes your home a little bit as well. You get your own little space to just relax in at the end of the day or chill out in. So.
And I guess if you're travelling in the same seat and you've got a bus partner and it's the same bus and the same people, you share the same heartache and the same joy and the same fun and the same Mickey taking with everyone. So you sort of learn to get along. Favourite show of the regular season?
Favourite show? I'm going to say San Antonio, I think, because just like the build up to it and then you got the free day after it and everything's just, yeah, I love San Antonio.
What about the atmosphere at finals? Special? More special than any other show?
Yeah, definitely. The buzz is just on a different, level, like a completely different level. It's hard to describe going out. It happens so fast when you actually look back at it. Then sort of 10, 11 minutes on the field, just you can't really remember it all that much. But the buzz of it, you can. That's what brings you back every time.
So it's more about the feeling than the placement. Yeah. When the show gets to mean so much, and the members that you're marching with gets to mean so much to you. Yeah. Like you say now, we're 6 weeks on maybe, and the buzz is still there, but the show was the show's the show, but the buzz of performing with those sort of people. Bit of advice for anyone that's thinking of going out for the first time.
Make sure you're fit before you go out. You'll run a lot. Yeah.
Just make sure you're fit. That's a pretty good. That's a pretty good bit of
spring
advice.
Spring training will be horrible if you're not.
Right, that's me out then for sure. So if age is not a barrier, then a lack of fitness certainly is. Rob, thank you so much for coming and having a chat with me today. Pleasure. Hopefully that'll help people that are looking to march in the States with some of the advice you've given us. Really appreciate your time. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.